I want to preface a little bit that I don't want to upset anyone. I love Chris Pratt as much as the next guy. I think he is as positive of a force in Hollywood these days as you can get. But I thought this was a very interesting, quick little article based on a recent Instagram post that he had, because I'm starting to get more in tune these days to, like, there's a lot when you read as much as you do for what we, for this job, that starts to make you feel like you're getting gaslit. And you feel like you're losing your mind a little bit. So this says Chris Pratt wouldn't change a thing about his MTV speech on God and prayer. So what happened is a couple of years ago,
I remember that.
Do you remember that? Yeah, he won an award for a generation award at the MTV Movie and Television Awards. And what happened is he gave this speech where he said, like, 9 rules for life, right? And most of it was about God and prayer. We actually tried to play it on here one time, and we got struck with the band hammer almost came down on it. We got the copyright notice on it. So he does this great speech, and it's beautifully done. He talks about, like, prayer, pray, it's good for your soul. You have a powerful, you're imperfect. You have a powerful creator that made you that way. You have to be okay with being imperfect and all this stuff. And it's a great message, right? But so he says that, but then there was this from last summer, right around the time that they were when Jurassic World Dominion was being promoted. It says, Chris Pratt clarifies his views. I'm not a religious person. So now we get into the discussion about religion versus spirituality. Yeah, exactly. Right. So what this came across to me as was him being told by the studio, look, we're promoting this movie. It is being released in China. We need you to walk this stuff. China's not very religious, right? Like,
no, I don't think you're allowed to be.
Not Christianity, though.
Worship the state.
Right, yeah, but
so,
you can't be...
Yeah. I had the feeling when this came out that, first of all, he's been badgered for years, that he's been told, like, look, you wore a shirt with a Gadsden flag. That's bad. You believe in God. That's bad. You went to Hillsong Church, right, Anna Claire? That's bad. So, but the
Hillsong Church thing is more complicated because some people feel really strongly that Hillsong is, like, corrupt and, like, pushing... It's beyond just, like, people accuse them of being, like, homophobic, but also, like, it's... not authentic in their doctrine is what a lot of people think.
So
and it's got big celebrities like Justin Bieber.
I was just going to say,
Jenners go there.
Oh.
Yeah.
So this old article mixed with the new article feels like he's walking back his walk back of religion, if that makes sense to you. So it says this was his quote, his post from from June 28th of 2022 when they were promoting the movie. This was from an interview that he had done. It says, religion has been oppressive as F for a long time, he said. I didn't know that I would kind of become this face of religion when really I'm not a religious person. I think there's a distinction between being religious, adhering to the customs created by man, oftentimes appropriating the awe reserved for who I believe is a very real God, and using it to control people, to take money from people, to abuse children, to steal land, to justify hatred, whatever it is. The evil that is in the heart of every single man is glommed on to the back of religion and come along for the ride. So I think that there's some fair points to that at the end of the statement, but I feel that he would have never felt like he had to make that statement if he wasn't bothered constantly by Hollywood telling him religion is bad. Mm-hmm. Religion is bad. So he then clarifies recently where he says in this post, throwback to that time MTV honored me with the Generation Award. I was given 3 minutes to impart wisdom to the generation. Given the chance to do it again, I wouldn't change a thing, except maybe I wouldn't try to eat popcorn backstage. So it's like, I feel like he had to walk back his walk back of being religious because Hollywood just doesn't allow you to have those views and succeed.
When you're saying he had to walk back his walk back. Like,
no, he had to walk back the first time. Now he's walking it back because the movie promotion is done.
Right, so he's like not in a gag order type thing.
Yeah, he's not
anymore.
He's not being forced to do it.
Yeah.
I feel like any other religion in Hollywood, you wouldn't be forced to justify it. Mm-hmm. You're allowed to be whatever you want to be, but because he is of a certain denomination, he's then forced to justify it constantly.
Well, I also feel like they don't use the poster child for Christianity the way they use the poster child for different religions, right?
Yeah.
Like, as the poster child for Christianity, even though he didn't choose to be, anything he does is scrutinized, right? Like, when he got divorced from Anna Faris, people were like, but I thought he was a Christian.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't think that kind of pressure is necessarily fair, and especially if you feel like you're suddenly the representation of Christianity to lots of young people. Like, I wouldn't necessarily want to be under that spotlight, even if I was, like, I am a Christian, but, like, I don't necessarily feel like I am the one to lead lots of people, right?
Yeah.
I am full of faults. And I think that pressure, I think you're probably right, there was pressure with movies coming out in China, but on the other hand, like, if you recognize that you are maybe not in the best position to be a spiritual counselor to countless teenagers who are looking up for you or whoever, like, I can't imagine wanting to be like, I would also want to be like, well, hold on, like, I'm not necessarily religious and I have this other stuff, like, is it walking it back, or is it trying to like put a better scope on yourself after you become basically the target? There's more Christian criticism.
There's more of it here, because he does clarify. He says, I never went to Hillsong. I've never actually been to Hillsong. I don't know anyone from that church. But there was more where he says from Men's Health. This is from the June statement now. He says, maybe it was hubris for me to stand up on that stage and say the things I said. I'm not sure I touched anybody. So
I don't think that's true.
So he touched him, but not in a good way, probably.
No. I think he thinks he did touch people in a good way.
I think he huge like support because people were like, "Thank goodness, there's someone willing to say these things." Right.
So he walks it back in the Men's Health article. He walks it back in the Vanity Fair article, and now he's saying that I'm glad I did it. Like, I feel like he was forced to do it. I feel like the studio made him go on this press tour, and at the very least, what they would call in the industry, soften the language, like, oh, I don't know, like maybe this, maybe that. And it's just like, I don't see them making anyone else with any beliefs. They're not making anyone else soften their beliefs for stuff like this.
Right. It seems very strategic.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think what you're saying is probably totally possible, but I also think that, like, there are tons of religious people who don't want to become the face of their religion. Right?
And he's been unfortunately forced into that circumstance.
And it's never been a good thing, right? No. It's like not like he's a Buddhist that Hollywood is like, so interesting, you live your life in an interesting way because you're of a religion that Western culture is not typically associated with, right? Like, as a Christian, he has become, more of a target for being considered this, like, alt-right pop, like, whatever, like stuff that's probably not even true.
Is Christianity even the biggest religion in the world right now? I don't think it is.
I don't think it could be, right?
I think it's maybe Judeo-Christian, like kind of just the collective.
Yeah. It's just it bothers me because I see so many people get away with saying all the things they want to say, and that's fine. But why do you have to justify your beliefs for something like this? Just like, why does Jay Briscoe have to apologize 5,000 times for a comment he made 10 years ago? Why does this guy have to become the face of something that he never asked to be the face of? Because weirdos on Twitter won't leave him alone, and they never leave him alone.
Because he was open about it, right? They're punishing him for being open about who he is.
But at the same time, whenever they do these these award shows, they're always like, they always thank God in their speech. Like you're allowed to thank God in your speech, but you're not allowed to actually be religious, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't get it. And it feels like part of me, my initial thought was that it was like the constant prodding from people was just like he reacted badly. But the more I look at it, it felt like, look, you got a movie coming out. Can you soften the language? Can you change it a little bit? And then you can walk it back later and do whatever you want to do. Does that feel like something that would be plausible in an industry that big with that much money on the line? And Jurassic World was one of the 3, I believe, top grossing movies of all last year. Like I could see that. Like, look, financially speaking, I guess I can't blame the studio for wanting that if they need to make as much money as possible. PR. Like, but at the same time,
I guess because I haven't looked at it enough, I don't see the exact timeline correlation that you're seeing. It doesn't mean it's not possible, and I think studios ask actors to walk back all the time.
Or just meet them halfway.
The Generational Award was in 2018. Mm-hmm. The Men's Health article and the Vanity Fair things were this past year. Right around the time that he was releasing Jurassic. Every time these actors have a new movie coming out, they get magazine covers, they get all this promotion. So we're talking 2022. Mm-hmm. By this time, there's already been a bunch of press in those previous years.
But he's disassociated from Hillsong. He has gone back and forth on what he's doing.
But I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about the
4 years since that speech was made.
But I'm talking about the specific quote to Men's Health where he says, like, look, maybe it was hubris of me to think I touched anyone. Maybe I shouldn't have done it. It feels like he's walking it back.
Sure, but I'm not sure what that has to do with a release in China.
Because the movie was coming out right at that time. So those are coming out at a time when you want absolute best press possible for your movie to all audiences.
Yeah, it's not as strong as I've seen other things, but it's totally possible, right? Yeah. Anything is. For me, this definitely comes across more as someone who is trying to evade being the token Christian actor.
Well, then that's what I say. Like he's walking, but now he's saying now I wouldn't change the things. It's like he's walking back the walk back. Like, and I'm not like saying I'm not saying that he's like a bad person for doing that. I'm just saying like I remember I got a couple of messages. I don't remember who it was, but they were bummed when he made those comments because in the past he was always so good about just not taking the bait. He never takes the bait on Twitter. He never takes the bait on Instagram. He does not get in useless fights with people on social media. So then to release it in like a public way on through an interview felt weird and forced to me.
Yeah.
Like maybe I'm seeing something that isn't there. And I love Chris Pratt. Like that does not mean that I don't love him as an actor or as a person. Like he seems like a family person. I love that part about him, but it's hard. Like the people that fall in line are never forced to justify themselves so much. They're not held to the same standard. If anything, I'm defending him that he shouldn't be forced to be held to this ridiculous standard that no one else is, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
I think it's a case where you just should stop explaining yourself. Right?
Do we know if he's being forced though?
That's what I was wondering.
I'm saying like if not being forced, why address it at all?
I don't know.
In the interview.
Maybe they asked him.
Yeah, that's why he comes up with like he must feel a lot of pressure for being the token Christian.
Woo! Woo! Thank you. That's what I'm talking.
Now I get it. I hear it.
I had no idea this would be paired with what I sent you.
My
so
favorite part of my job now is making just terrifying sounds for people to be forced to sat through in this show.
Yeah,
has anybody been afraid?
Me.
Has anybody what?
Been afraid of it?
No, but it scares the crap out of you when you first hear it the very first time, right?
When I came out of the studio yesterday, Carter was like, "Oh yeah, you're in the Crisis Party sound," and he was like, "Oh yeah, which one?" And then I had to like try and reenact or describe it. It was very hard.
You did it though.
You're in this?
I sent Brett
it's Carter's voice.
The Crisis Party.
Crisis Party.
I think that one. Cool. I think that one might become like a mainstay, like where
I can do more.
Crisis Party mixed with whatever horrifying movie clip I want to play.
Oh,
also,
good.
chat guys, either on Twitter. Send me clips to anything that you think would fit well for a Crisis Party sound effect. That's at Brett Dasovic on Twitter.
Or make requests of what you want Carter to do.
Yeah, I can do that too.
Let's give Carter
make
more
for
work.
Carter. So, all right. Look, guys, I'm not saying there was anything there. I'm just saying that was like, it felt weird.
It definitely feels like there's some inconsistency, and it's interesting to wonder why.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.